right, it looks like it's 3 o'clock. I'll be obviously watching the stream to make sure that everyone can hear me and all that. And we also get a few people also in the stream, making sure that everything is working as it should. But yeah, so first camp of the season, back with STEMpump Camps. And we're kicking it off with building a blog with React and Next.js. It's been a long time since we've done this, and it's been, I think, what, a year and a half, something like that. I'm Ritesh, and hopefully, that by the end of this, you'll be able to build a blog with React and Next.js. We've, I guess, allotted 2 hours for this camp, but I'm hoping that we can get it done within the hour, which would honestly be really great for a lot of us, because then we can move on and learn some other cool stuff. So yeah, let's move. Next slide. So before we get kicked off, what is STEMpump? STEMpump is an educational organization dedicated to creating a global platform for contribution, collaboration, and expression. We aim to transform traditional education by offering a modernized teaching environment that gives students a medium to learn and contribute to our mission of free education for all. We teach free camps and courses to provide the world with free education and give students a platform to create and share. You can learn more about us at STEMpump.org. A lot of different information on the About page, everything. But yeah. So what we'll be learning in this camp? So we'll be making a blog with React and Next.js, and we'll start off by, I guess, the basics of HTML, which is the original language of the web. We'll jump into Tailwind CSS, which is a CSS framework that allows us to design what our blog will look like. So the colors, the fonts, the sizing, all of that. And then we'll shift to React and Next.js to use JavaScript and build our blog. And finally, using GitHub and Vercel, we'll be publishing your site to the web so everyone can enjoy it and you'll continue being able to develop it. By the end of the camp, you'll be able to use basic HTML, design web pages in Tailwind CSS, build both pages and components using React and Next.js, and use GitHub for version control. And we'll go over all these things. And yeah, you'll have a blog by the end. So yeah. Let me check something. This being a live stream means that, I have to be very aware of what's going on in the chat and all other things. But yeah, if you got any questions, ask in the YouTube chat or on Discord. We're both here. You can join our Discord at stempump.org/r/discord, and that's pretty easy, but yeah. So, and if you need all the links and files that we'll be talking about today, you can go to stempump.org/live. And you'll have everything there. It'll be all open and whatnot for you to access, whether it's the sample files that we're using or the links that we'll go to where you'll make accounts and download things. So section 1, let's get started. We'll be setting up our Vercel and GitHub accounts. So you can just go to github.com, set up your account, and it's pretty easily. It'll ask for an email, password, have you do this weird galaxy thing, and you'll be good to go. We'll be using our GitHub account as the basis for everything that we do. And then you can go to Vercel.com. So you can just type Vercel.com, and you'll be able to make an account. Here's ours. I've already made the account, but I'll log out, and you'll basically just go to Vercel.com. You'll hit sign up. I'll hit login right now. Continue with GitHub. And boom, I'm in. Okay, it's pretty easy. I'll give you like a minute to do that, and we'll move forward. So make your GitHub account, fill that all out, go to Vercel, sign in with that GitHub account. GitHub will send in verification to your email, so that one will take a lot longer. But once you're here, you should see something similar to this, where it has a few different sample projects you can open up. And yeah, or you can hit new project, but you should be able to, see a few sample projects. All right, cool. I'll move on. If you haven't gotten there, no worries. We're not going to be, rushing through anything. So now that we are here, fun time. So we'll be creating our Next.js project. And normally that would have, you'd have to go to terminal, type in a few commands, and we're just going to speed up the process. We'll have Vercel do it all for us. So you'll see this, and what we'll do is we'll hit this. We'll hit create this. And GitHub account, and you can hit install. This way it knows that it's able to change. There we go. Yes, and then you'll be able to see your username right there. I'll make it public, why not? And yeah, here we are. So you'll literally hit add GitHub account, hit install twice, and that'll know that it'll now fix that. And essentially what we're gonna have do is we're gonna have Vercel create our GitHub repository, which is essentially the base for all of our code to live and exist within. And we'll say, okay, cool. And we'll name our repository. I'll just name ours build a blog React Next.js. And this will be public after camp, so you'll be able to see everything that we've done, as well as all the code and what we've done with it. And when you're ready, just hit create. And it'll be going through this process right here. And you'll see it'll be doing a lot of weird things that you might not understand, and we'll kind of break it down. But right now it's just building the site. So it's taking all the code that exists in this sample file and doing that. And while we wait for that, we can kind of jump into the next thing, which is downloading programs, which is always gonna be really fun. And we'll be downloading two big programs and then one other program. So we'll be downloading first is Visual Studio Code, and you can just Google Visual Studio Code. This is our IDE, our independent development environment. I'm sorry, I'm blanking, but it's a code editor. That's simple. You can download it for whatever laptop or desktop you have, whether in Mac or Windows or Linux. You can just download the stable versions or whatever main thing hits, and that will download. And then we'll also be downloading GitHub Desktop, and this is a really streamlined way for you to access GitHub. And so you'll download this, sign in with your GitHub account once again, and you'll be good to go there. So these two are the main programs we'll be using. And then we'll be downloading something called Node.js. And you just Google Node.js and go to node.js.org and download. Download this version, the LTS recommended, because it has less bugs and it's recommended. So you should probably do it. And you just hit the download button and get that installed. So those are the things that you should be getting installed. Just these three things while we wait for this to finish up. Oh, it did finish, cool. But yeah, so Visual Studio Code, GitHub Desktop, and Node.js, these three things. And I'll give them a minute to do that. All right, cool. I think that's good enough time. So from here, right, you'll see a few things pop up. We have Visual Studio Code right here. It's on the screen. And then our GitHub Desktop. So first what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit clone a repository, or actually I'll hit refresh this list. And you'll see that the thing that we made with Vercel is already here. And you can actually go back to this Vercel page and hit go to dashboard, and this is our site. We can actually just click on this right here, and this is what our site looks like right now. It's the simple Next.js template, okay? And so you can go back to GitHub Desktop and you just hit clone, and you'll be able to click on this, and I'll be cloning it right here, and I'll hit clone, and basically what it does is just downloads it to your computer. You can go to GitHub actually and see this and see all the files it's installed, or all the files that are inside. So we have some pages, some folders, and some other files right here, and a little bit of information about this. And so literally once you've cloned your repository, you'll hit clone and then select it. That's all we're really going to touch with GitHub Desktop for now, and so you can just minimize that away. And we'll go back to it. Don't worry, we'll go back to it. And Node.js should also already be installed. Make sure you have this. This is very important and allow all the fun stuff to happen. You can go into Visual Studio Code and open a new folder. I'll be going into my GitHub, and you'll see this folder, or wherever you saved it, or wherever you cloned it, and just hit open. Okay, and then you'll see all our stuff here. What we're first going to do is we're going to hit terminal and new terminal, and we'll run one program, which is just npm I. We'll run this, and it'll do some things, and I'll explain what that is in the future. Okay, so let's talk about some of the definitions with GitHub. So there's, at least for today, we're going to talk about 3 different definitions. The first are commits, and these are snapshots of your repository. Essentially, when we make a commit, we're making an update, right? Well, when I change, a line of code, I can commit it, and it will basically save it. This is essentially an update. It'll keep track of our changes whenever we ask it to. And so you can make them at specific times, maybe, whenever you fix a bug or anything like that. You want to make new commits often, so commits can tell a story of a repository from, the first line you've written to the 1,000th line you've written. You can see this progression. And so, like here, right, when we hit npm I, we've already changed it, and we've made an update to this file, right? And we can just name it, we can hit commit. And so what that does is essentially register this as an update. The next is a branch, and these are essentially versions of a repository. So you can have we have our main version. You see current branch says main right here. And these are used, I guess, for a variety of things. You can have a branch that's for a new feature, right? Say you're adding, a way for users to take a photo of themselves for their profile picture, or to upload it from their computer rather than choosing some random color. That could be a branch. You could have a branch for that. Or say there's a bug that's breaking your entire website. You can have a branch for that. All these branches are essentially different versions of your main repository, which is your code base, that allow you to change things and work with the entire thing at once and make commits independently without messing with this main branch, because the main branch is the one that everyone else can see, and then these other branches are the ones that are a little bit maybe buggy or have different things with them. And then obviously repositories contain all of your project's files, and each file's file revision, and each file's revision history, and you'll be able to discuss and manage all your project's work within the repository. We can go back here and just kind of look, and this is our repository, right? We have one main branch, which is good, and we've had one commit, which is our initial commit. So all of the original files are part of our initial commit. Okay, cool. So now we'll be talking about the Next.js file structure. So what do our files look like in this project, and what does each one mean? So we'll look at node modules, package lock, and package in a little bit, and we'll focus on these other ones for now. So we're going to kind of work down the bottom. readme.md is a markdown file that's just used for documentation purposes. So all this text and code right here is what's shown right here. This is our readme, and it's formatted, and we'll talk about formatting in a little bit. Package.json, we'll talk about a little bit. Package.lock, we'll talk about. Next.config.js is Next.js's configuration file. We're not going to touch this today because there's not much that we actually need to do here. But it's allows developers to expand what their configuration rules for Next.js is, whether to allow new domains and different redirects and all this other web stuff. Git ignore is a lot of things that we want it to ignore when we upload, and this is, shouldn't change this, about ignoring files when we make commits. Like we'd ignore node modules because that's a lot of installation. Like these are massive files, and you only want these on your computer. You don't want to upload those, as well as some other things. ESLint is just some rules about what good code is. Not bad code. To make sure you're writing good JavaScript and HTML and CSS and all that. And then we have these folders, these 3 folders. We have styles, which contains all of our CSS. We have public, which contains our outward-facing images. So this is like our favicon icon. So this icon, like right here, it's right there. As well as this logo. So it looks like code, but it's a logo, and it's this logo at the bottom. So that's public-facing. And then our pages. So we have an API folder, which we won't mess with. You can actually just delete that for now. Right click, delete. Yes, move to trash. Our app _app file, which is, I guess, our parent file, and all of our other pages will mimic this. You don't have to touch this one bit. And then our index.js, which is all of our code on this page. Index means that there's essentially the root, so you won't be able to do this. It'll error out. But here we have some camps in this. We have no .html. Index is essentially just the folder name itself, so the base thing. So I can do that and it'll work. Okay, so that's where we're at. This is a lot of code, and we'll kind of break this down in a little bit when we jump into HTML and all that. Okay, so let's talk about commands and definitions of those 3 files that we didn't touch. So first, let's talk about commands. So these are the commands we'll be looking at today. We won't be really discussing npm run build or npm update or npm uninstall. We'll really only be using npm run dev and npm install. So npm run dev will start up our local development environment, or server as well, that allows us to code and see what it looks like in real time on our computer before we upload it to Vercel, and Vercel puts it on the web. This makes it really easy because we don't have to be connected to the internet or anything like that. It'll just show up. npm run build will build our site and check for errors, assuming that it was uploaded to the web. And this is what Vercel does. It builds our site and deploys it. So we don't really need to do that on our computer, but I'll show you what that process looks like. npm install allows us to install packages. So say we want to install, so we'll be installing Tailwind CSS in a little bit onto our web application or our blog, and we'll be using this to do it, as well as some other plugins. npm uninstall allows you to uninstall packages that you weren't happy with. So say you installed, a clock package that shows a clock, and it doesn't work. You can then uninstall it. And then npm update allows you to update packages. So if something's out of date, we can just update it and it'll be back up to date. And then talking about our definitions of these 3 files that all have to do with Node.js. So package.json is a list of all the packages and versions we're using in our web app. So I can actually just click on this and you can see we have Next, it's at version 12.0.1, React, and the React DOM. You want to make sure you don't mess with any of this. And you can see some of our scripts here, but we're not going to really use those. And some versions around here for developers, so ESLint and then ESconfig next. You don't have to worry about those either. But when we install Tailwind, you'll see that Tailwind will drop right under as a dependency, a package dependency, and you'll see the version for that. Package lock is basically just information on these things. Don't try and read it. It's really complicated and has a lot more other packages underneath it. And then node modules is all these packages in their folders. So we can actually just go find you'll see React is right there, React DOM. Next should be somewhere. Next. And then all these other things are from their package lock. And don't mess with that either, because it will definitely break your site. So actually, while we're at it, let's try running one of our commands. So we already ran npm I. If you don't have your terminal, you can just hit terminal and new terminal. It'll pop back up. and you'll also, if you're old, and you just trash that if you want. And we'll run npm run dev and hit enter. Okay, and then you'll see that it started. And you can see this URL localhost 3000. I'll just copy that. And it's the same thing, right? Now we're operating here. So let's just go back into here. We can go to pages and then index. And let's just change the name. So we can go here and it says create next app. Let's just write my first change. And we can go back and you can see it's already updated this top title. And we can go through the bottom and change random things. So get started by coding. And then let's just change this blog. And it looks a little bit weirder, but yeah, we've already made a few changes, and that's our first change. And you can see, right, this stays the same as the old code because we haven't committed our updates to GitHub yet, and GitHub hasn't sent those results to Vercel. So we have that. So that's kind of where we're at now. And before we continue, I guess, let's install some extra plugins to VS Code or Visual Studio Code that'll help us code faster and easier. So on the sidebar, you'll see a few different things: Explorer, Search, Source Control, Run, Debug, Extensions. This is one of mine. So you can click Extensions, and we'll install a few things right now. First, you'll install the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, and you can hit install. If that asks you to reload, that's okay. We'll also be installing the ES7 React Redux, this long thing, and this will help us, write React code faster. You just install. I will be downloading HTML snippets. That will help us write faster and color some things, make it easier to read. And we'll also be downloading Markdown all-in-one right here, and it'll help us writing Markdown, which is what we're using for content. So download those things. Pretty cool. Okay. All right. And like I said, if you have any questions, let us know on Discord or on YouTube, and we'll get back to you. Okay, cool. So you can close this by just going back to the Explorer. We'll show our files on the side. So what we're going to do first is a few things. We're going to delete this home.module.css. So you can just delete that by right-clicking and hitting delete, or command backspace or control backspace. We'll go to index.js and just delete everything. So actually, no, we don't have to delete everything. Let's delete. Let's see if everything right. Actually, no, yeah, let's delete everything. So export default. Okay. Oh, great. Okay, there we go. So let's kind of start from the basics. So we're on index.js. So when we want to display our home page, we'll start off with writing export default. So we're going to be exporting the default, which is the main of the file, function, and we'll name the function. I'll name it home page. Add these parentheses, and you can add, and then it's already trying to predict. And then you can add curly braces, and then we'll write return. And so everything inside the return will be displayed on our web page. So for now, we'll just write div, and we'll have this. So, and then we'll write h1 hello world. You can go back, and you can see it says hello world. It's big and thick. So let me rearrange this. So what does any of this mean? Okay, so let's kind of kick it off. We'll talk about divs at the end, but for now, we'll just put everything here. H1 stands for heading 1. It's the largest size of heading, and we can put text inside of it. We also have H2 through 6, so you can actually look at that. So H2, this is heading 2. And make sure you're hitting Control-S or Command-S whenever there's this circle. That way it saves, so I can hit save. And you see it's smaller, it's still bolded. and we can write this is heading 3. This is heading 4. This is heading 5, and this is heading 6. This is all GitHub Copilot trying to predict what I'm going to write. But yeah, you can see we go all the way down to this small text here at the bottom. So H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll rename this to, this is heading 1. Okay, so we have all these things. We can also do pair, and so these are called tags. You want to open a tag and close a tag when we're done. So H1 to H1, H2 to H2, and div to div. We can do different layers, I guess. We also have a paragraph tag. So this is a paragraph, and you can see it's around the size of, I guess, H3 or H4, and it's not bolded by default, and we'll talk about this. This is paragraph tag. We can also make lists. So we can make a ordered list, so OL, and put a list item, which is the LI, this, and maybe we're gonna make a list of steps. So for this blog, right, we'll be writing the HTML. That's our first thing. The second thing is we'll be writing the CSS, writing the JS, and then we're done. This is all HTML right here. Everything in return will be HTML, and everything outside of it is JavaScript, by the way. So that's, we talk about that. And you'll see we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our list. But say, you know, I don't want it to be ordered. Like I went to the grocery store and I just want, you know, a list of things to buy. So maybe I need some apples, right? Or I need oranges, perhaps, bananas, and pears. I need these things. And you'll see these are bullet points now because they're unordered. There's no numbering to this list. One of the big things when we're talking about websites is going to different websites or going to a different page. So let's just start that off. So you want to do that by writing A, and this is called an anchor tag, and then href, and then we put our URL in here. So we'll type in the STEMpump website, so www.stempump.org, and you'll put this. And now you can see that we have this text. It's not styled right now, but it will styled later. And if you can see my mouse changes when I hover over it. I can click on it, and it'll bring me to stempump.org. So the link is inside the href, and the text that it shows up on our web page is right here. We can also do inter-site changes. So go to another page, and we can just do /second. Or we can call it another. Okay. And if I click on this, it'll look right next to it. So I can just put I'll put my, yeah, that's fine actually. I'll put go to another page. You can see it says it goes to /another, but there's no page. We don't have a page called that. So let's make one. Inside pages, we can hit this button right here and type another.js. Okay, you can hit save, and we'll get an error because for pages you need to have the default export. So let's do it. So let's write export default function. We'll name this function another page. Return. And then we'll write this is another page. And let's also create a link to bring us back to the home page. So we'll write this, / will bring us back to the home page. And now you can see we're going between pages. And I'll make and you can put a BR tag. This one doesn't close like the other ones because it's on its own. And essentially what this does is just separates something to a new line. So we can go here. And so now you have a very, very, very basic web page that goes between things and all that. Okay, let's talk about some other types of HTML and code. We have some normal tags. I'll add another BR here. Like we have a tag called the nav tag, and this is for navigation bars that are usually at the top of a page. So you might do a nav tab like this, and it doesn't look like much because until we style it, but it's good for accessibility. We also have main. I'll just let this kind of go out. Yeah. And this is main content, perhaps. And then we also have footer, which is always at the bottom of the page. This is the footer. We can kind of look at our blog, right? And we have our nav bar right here. If I click on this, it brings me home. We have our footer here at the bottom, which is copyright. And we have our main content all in the middle. So we do nav bar, main, footer. And it doesn't style any different, as you see, compared to, you know, headings or links. Or links aren't styled, but you get what I'm saying. Or lists. It doesn't style like that because this is meant for more accessibility. How do we structure our HTML content? Okay. And then we can also add images. You know, maybe I want to have an image of a cat. So I'll write img, so image, source, and we'll just put a photo. And I'll use this thing called placekitten.com/200/200. And just like the BR tag, this one closes on its own. And now I have a picture of a cat at the bottom. I can add another picture of a cat on this page. We can change that to 300 by 200. Just pictures of cats on different pages. Right, so this is essentially the basics of HTML. We've already kind of gone about it. In the last 30 minutes alone, you've gone from not knowing anything about the web to making a really basic web page, learning how to use GitHub and Vercel, and yeah, and kind of already editing your first files in here. So this is kind of a very basic home page. So what do we want to do from here, right? We've already, I guess, gone from our intro in HTML and JSX. So let's actually start working and making our blog. Let's do that. So let's just delete these pages. We'll delete them. And it won't look good, I promise you. This will not look good for now, but it will look good, okay? So here's what we'll do. Inside pages, let's make a index.js, and then let's make a folder for our blog. Okay, so I can now go to a real little complaint. So let's do index. So export default function home page. Return. Okay, and so let's kind of work on our page. So we talk about divs, and divs are just a general tag that can be used for anything, and it's super helpful with styling. But we will use it as our starting point. So we'll have div, and we'll start off with this. So at the top of our page, we want a nav bar. So let's write nav. Okay, and so what do we want to put inside our nav bar? So I think we should put the title of our blog. So maybe this will be a H3. I'll name our blog Things and Stuff. Okay, and you'll see at the top right here, Things and Stuff. Then in our main content, I want to have maybe the title, welcome to my blog. So I'll write welcome to Things and Stuff. And then maybe a little description, you know? I'll put a paragraph tag. This is where I talk about my things and my stuff. We can also add a BR within this, because we can do that with paragraph and heading because they're text-based tags. You can read my posts below, exclamation mark. Cool. And so we have this. This is our main content and our nav bar. And I'll just add a comment, and you can do that by writing by clicking Command/ or Control/ if you're on Windows. And I'll just write posts go here, This is a comment. And so we'll put some content there later. And then after this, we'll put footer. And inside our footer, I think all we need is just a paragraph tag saying copyright 2022. Okay, let's put that. Really basic stuff. And this is our basic structure for our page. That's pretty much it. But I don't know if you can see at the top, we don't really have any title that tells us what our page is about. We have create next step. All these have titles. So how do we do that? And this is where we import our first package. Next already comes with a few different packages included, and we'll be including their head package. So import head from next/head. And then we can just drop a head like this. And you can see it's orange because we're importing it. And then we can write title, things, and stuff. And now you can see we have a title right here. So what the head allows us to do is we're allowed to mess with the site's metadata, which is all this fun stuff like these icons that you see at the tops of some of these pages, like this green at Node.js, as well as the title that says Node.js, or how the page is structured itself. For now, we won't really be messing with that, but we have our fav icon, and we have that. So that's where we're at for now. Okay, cool. So let's also check with some other things, right? For our web page, we have a this nav bar and this footer are on every page. And the cool thing is, with React, we're allowed to make something called components. So what we can do is actually just pull this out. We can actually write another function below, not an export default, but a normal one, and we can call it navbar. And it's written the same way, right? Return like this. But now what I can do is I can take this code out, paste it in here, and now write navbar. This is our first component, right? And at first glance, looks the same, things and stuff. That's the code. But now what essentially it does is it replaces every instance of navbar with this code. And so now I can make as many navbars as I want. See, we have 4. Only have to write the code once, and I can repeat as many times. Maybe I want to move 2 navbars right here. Isn't that cool? Let me reset my thing. So now we can code beside. I'll be doing this, yeah. Being so annoying. There we go. Cool. So now you can kind of see everything together. You can just kind of lower this. So yeah, now you can see as we, do things. Let's have 3 of them. I can delete this. 2 of them. So I'll only still need 1 navbar. But let's also make the footer, because we want to use that on multiple pages as well. So I can write function footer return, and we'll drop this in here as well. Pretty cool, huh? Oh no, but the thing's not there until we obviously footer to that. And same way, I can just add as many of these as necessary around it. And this head never really shows up here, it's all done. But I can hit inspect, and now we can actually see the code. How many footers we have, all the footers that we have. And it looks like, we've written it 1,000 times, but we've only really written it once, and we just repeat it. And I always take it one step further. Outside of pages, it's just here normally, create a new folder, and we'll call it components. And so this will allow us to use components with any page we want. So I can create a new file called navbar.js and footer.js. And I can just copy this, paste it, cut it, and then write export default, paste it. Now it is the own default of it, and do the same thing here. But now it's complaining. It says we don't have a navbar. That's true. There's no navbar in this file. So now we can import navbar, and you can hit enter, and you can see from components/navbar. This // means to leave our folder. So index, right, we want to leave the pages folder, enter the components folder, and go to the nav bar. And we want to do the same thing with the footer. And now we have access to the same things. We can actually just copy all this over to another page. Let's make an about page maybe. Let me just paste this in, rename it to about page. Let me change inside my here, and I'll say href go back. Or actually, sorry. Go back to the home page. About this blog. And I'll also create a link right here and just copy paste this. Right, and I can click go to the about page. And you can see that the nav bar and the footer stay the same. And if I change it, just things and stuff too, just do that, it stays the same on both pages. So it's a very small page now because now you're just importing stuff from these component pages. All right, cool. So now let's talk about styling. How do we plan on styling this page? Because it's pretty bland right now. All right, so let's get started. What I'm going to do is we're going to end our server. So you can click in here and hit Control-C. And now it's over. If I try to reload this page, it's going to say it can't be reached. And we're going to go to Tailwind CSS.com. And this will allow us to style our website and make it look very fancy like this one. You can see in this little animation right here that this code is changing as this gets typed. So you're going to get started, and we'll hit Framework Guides and type Next.js. You can skip step number 1 because we already have our project. And we can just copy this first line, paste it in here, and hit enter. And now it's going to be installing Tailwind CSS. It's done. And we'll be writing this other command as well, which will create a new file here. And you see this new Tailwind and this post is. We're only looking at Tailwind. Then we're going to go here, we're going to follow the steps, and replace content with this. We're going to paste it. Okay. And then we're going to go to Styles and Globals and delete all of this. And then we're going to paste in this. This will now say, force globals.css to use Tailwind. And then you can just start running Tailwind. So you can write npm run dev. Okay, we can just close out of these files. We can have these ones open. Okay. Now if I reload the page, we have no styling at all. All that bold that was from H1 and all that doesn't exist anymore. But now we can actually start going about styling it. We're going to create another component really quickly because I don't like how this is being pushed off to the side. We'll create another component. We'll call it layout.js. And we'll also create another one called container.js. And for now, you can just set these equal as a function container. You can just have them set like this for now, and just paste the same thing. Okay, now we have these. So first, let's talk about CSS. What does it mean? CSS allows us to style things, whether it means to change the fonts, the colors, the background color, shadows, opacity, radius, what it looks like when we hover on it, all of that. So we can actually use Tailwind CSS as a method to learn how to do this. So let's first focus on changing the color of our nav bar. So I want to make this text red. Right? So you can just hit search colors, and it says text color. And now we can see that we have so many different colors to choose from. But I want to do red. So let's go to red. So you can scroll to text red. They have so many colors. Text red. And I like this red. So we'll do text red 500. So now what we'll do, text red 500, keep that in mind. We'll click on this and want a space, and we'll write class name. And inside here, we can now write text red 500 and save. Now it's red. If I go to the about page, it's red as well. And that's how we change colors. We can now do blue 500, and we can go blue 100. You can see it's very faint. Blue 900. We can make it green. And they have all these set colors that look really nice already out of the box, which makes Tailwind so easy to use. So we set that equal to green, and that looks cool. Let's keep it like that. And I want to set the background of this to pink and set the color to yellow. That's weird, but I'll go for it. So for the footer, we can add a class name, and you can now write BG pink 500. And you can now see the entire background continuing all the way down is pink. I'm gonna add class name here, text yellow 600, save. And now it's yellow. I can't really see it, so I'll make it lighter. The smaller numbers are lighter. And now we have this. And you can go to the about page and it stays the same. So that's how we change colors for the text and the background. But I personally think that the text is too small for the top. I don't really like it. And I'll move this intro to Tailwind CSS. I don't like it. It's not cool, in my opinion. So what I'll do here is I'll change it, right? I want to set the nav bar. I'll change a few things with the nav bar. Let's make it blue. We'll set it to blue 500. I think that looks cool. But I think it's too thin. So I can actually set it to font semi-bold. And you can see it just got thicker. We also send it to font black, I think. And it's very thick. Or bold. Thin. And it's very thin. But let's just set it to medium. So that's font weight. Okay. And that's kind of where we're at right now with that. But I think the welcome things and stuff, it's the main message of our blog. We should make it bigger. So we can go to index, and let's change it. So we can add class name, and let's set it to font bold. It's a heading. It should be bold. Now it's bold, but I want it to be big. So we can actually write text, and you can see let's set it to 5XL, 5 extra large. And now it's massive. You can actually go to Tailwind and search for text, for font size. And they have so many different sizes, you can see what they all look like. So you have small, base, which is regular, large, extra large, and then all the way up to 9 extra large. And let's just use the 5 extra large for now. This looks really nice. I'm going to go to the paragraph and make that a little bit bigger too, and I'll make that text large. And I'll also change the font to medium, because that looks good. And while we're at it, let's change the color to gray 600. Now it's more of a summary. It's a little subtitle underneath. So that's where we're at right here. Let's talk more about our posts, I guess. So it's going to be an unordered list. I'm going to just write this is a post. We don't have bullets because that's how Tailwind styles it, but it makes sense. It clears all the styles, so we have a lot more creative freedom. Okay, let's update our footer too and make it a little bit more stylish. First, what I'll do is let's center this text. I think this should be in the center of the page. We can write text center, text extra small, because I don't think it should be that big, and we can set it to gray 400. I don't think we really need a background here, so I can just remove that. And so then we have copyright right there. We can go to the about page, and you can see that those two things stay the same. Let's go to the about page. Let's style this. So we're going to class name, font, semi-bold, text 3XL. What did I set that other one to? Oh, font bold. Okay, then I'll set the other one to font bold. and I'll just have some text right here. And we'll just have some text from here. And I'll also just style it the same way. And the best thing about Tailwind is that we can just copy this. You can just copy the styles, paste them, and it just works. So yeah, these things. Okay, so we've talked about font color, text color. We've talked about the background, even though we don't really have any. We've talked about text size. We've talked about font weight. Now let's talk about, some other things. Let's talk about margin and padding. So there's two ways to consider margin and padding. So think of a gap, right? I think there's too much space between, or there's too less space between welcome to things and stuff and this line. It's too much, there's not enough space between them. Your first idea would be, let's add a BR, between the two. Break, but that's too big. I don't like that. So what I can do is I can do this. I can add a margin, and margin is outside facing. So I'm gonna write M, so margin, top, dash 4. And now you can see there's a small gap. On the same thing, instead if I didn't have to do it there, I can do margin bottom 4, and I'll add a bottom gap. To explain how this works, I'll be creating a div right here at the bottom, class name, a width of 8 and a height of 8, and a background of pink. You can see there's a little pink box right there. Width and height is something we're going to talk about, but I'll just do it to explain. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So if I had a margin, M of 0, there's no margin. If I had a margin of 10, you can see that now there's 10, 10, 10, 10. You can actually hit inspect, and it'll show you where that margin is. See, you can see that there's that orange, 10, 10, 10, 10. And then I can add some text on the inside. Let's say, this is cool. We can actually change that by just changing the outside. So it changes for all of it, so 500. This is cool. It's yellow. And that's pretty big. This should be 32 then. Cool. And you can see that this is really tight up against it. So now we can add padding to the inside. So padding of 10. Now there's internal padding. Actually, I'll make it 4 so you can actually see it. Now there's a gap of 4, 4, and 4 around it. So that's how padding and margin works, right? Do you want it to be on the inside or the outside? And you can use them sometimes interchangeably, but not always. Not always. This shows you can't get margin. You could always apply a margin on the inside of this, but to apply padding is much more even and much more following the web standard. Okay? So let's work on our nav bar then, right? I think that's too close to the top. So we can go to nav bar. Nav bar. And what I'll do here is I'll add I want padding around it, but I don't want on the sides. I'll add a padding of Y, so the top and bottom of 4. So now we have padding on the top and bottom of 4. Let's do the same thing for our footer as well. For this blog, we won't really be using margin. We'll be using padding a lot, but I'll explain why that is, because it's not really necessary, because I'll show you another cool class. And these are all called classes, by the way. I didn't really already mention that. This camp is not meant to be a full 100% or 101 into HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. We have amazing courses on STEMpump.org that are designed for that. The goal of this camp is to make our blog and finish that up. Okay, cool. And while I'm at it, let me just place this copyright, make it a little bit more fancier. Let's delete that. So that's all right. Cool. So we have this, and we have that. So let's talk about this container that we made earlier. So container, a container allows us to essentially to make sure that our page always looks good, regardless of the size of it. You can see how it compresses, and always have space on the side. So we'll add a few classes here. We're going to write max width pros. Okay, and this will give us a max width. Then what we'll do is we'll write mx. Actually, you know what? We won't do that yet. What we'll do is set this. So first add curly braces, and then children. And then you'll again add the same thing here. Okay, like this. Okay, this children and this children are the same. When we made this, remember when we import navbar and all that and footer, we don't have a closing tag. It's on its own. But when you add children, now you can have a closing tag. So I can import container from here, and let's just wrap it like this. So container, okay? So if I add a background of red 500, since everything is inside the container, it now has red 500. But if I move the footer out, see, now it doesn't, okay? So that's how the application of this. So we don't really need that. So what we'll first do is write max width of prose. Prose is a size, okay? It's a size of content. Then what I'll write is mx auto, and you can now see, now we have gapping on both the left and right that changes whether we're small or large. But if I'm very small, now I don't have gap, but if I'm really big, I have gap. So we want to have, when it's really small, have gapping. So we can actually set padding on the left and right, so a 4. But I don't want that when it's big. I don't like that when it's big. It's annoying. So when it's big, well, when it's medium, we'll add a px of 0. And when it's small, we'll add px of 6. Actually, I don't know if I actually want that. I'll put 8. And I'll do when it's large. I'm not going to really explain what this means because out of our gap for today. But also at the bottom of padding of 4. And on medium, pb 8. Okay. So now you can see we have gaps on the side regardless of our size. And we can actually test this with inspect. We can actually change this dimension to the iPhone 10. And you can see there's space. This is what it would look like on your phone. Even if iPhone 5S. Surface Duo. It looks pretty good on all sizes. You can search this on Tailwind, what these all mean, just type them in. But essentially what it means is these are called responsive breakpoints. So when this screen size is large, and they'll explain what large is here, we want the padding on the sides to be 8. When the screen size is from small to large, we want it to be 6. And if it's below small, we want it to set to 4. That's how we're able to have padding like this. And this page doesn't have it, and I can kind of show you what it would look like just to add it straight off the bat. Seems right. Import container, and then drop everything inside the container. There's not there. And now it looks good. It looks pretty good. Okay. But now I guess what you're realizing is that this container and the nav bar, they're on every page. And same with this. So how do we simplify that? So that's why we have layout. So in layout, what we'll do is I'll go to our index and close out these. And I'll copy all of this into layout. Let me just put this right here. Okay. And we'll add a variable called title here. And I'll replace this things and stuff with title. Then what I'll do is I'll replace this with children. And you can add comma, children. And then what I'll do is I'll import all this stuff. So we'll import head from next/head. We'll import the nav bar. We'll import the footer. You can, when you're doing this, when you're typing and it shows all the results, you can just write and it starts showing. You can just hit enter, but I'm using tab. Okay, now we have this. If I go back to our home page, it'll look like this because we're still importing. But now what I can do is I can do this. So we can keep this. I want to cut this, delete that, delete this, we're going to import layout. And now we look like this. And everything now works still, right? But we don't have a title. But since we made a title variable, and we have a title right here, now you can write, just like class name, you can add a property. And we now set this to things and stuff. Right? And now you have things and stuff. If we go to the about page, it's different. So we can actually go to the about page and do the same thing. So you can just replace all those imports with one import now, and then add this surrounding. Oh my god, there we go. Okay, cool. And now we have all of this stuff. Cool, right? I can change whatever I want here, and it'll work across the fact. So if I said, like, wanted to add, another thing right here, hello, there. Cool. Okay, so let's finish styling everything, because we're gonna make it look really nice now. So let's go to our nav bar, and let's add a border. Let's add a bottom border. We have one right here. We have this line right here. So I can add now. And this is why I did the padding on the Y for top and bottom. So I can do border B, border bottom. You can see we now have this bottom border. And then what we're gonna do is, okay, yes, sorry, is we're gonna do this. Then we're gonna go to footer and add a border T, border top. And when we go to the container, what I'll do really quickly here is I'll add we'll change this from PY. Let's make this PY8. Oh wait, no, not that. Sorry. We'll leave that the same. And we can now go to index. And I'll add a class here called PY8. And now we have padding around it. So this is our main, and now we have padding on top and bottom. And I think this is all too close, but now we can use this thing called space. And space is really cool. You don't get this in normal CSS, but you have to do a whole bunch of math and stuff, and Tailwind just gives it to you. And we want space on the y-axis, so vertical, of 4. And now everything's separated by 4, except obviously this, but that's just how that works. And yeah, so we have that. And I'll create another div, because I want to structure this a little bit easier. Okay. Actually, let's move, yeah. And we'll add another space y4. Do that. I'll move this UL outside, because I want that right there. And then I'll put, and then what we'll do is we'll do something else, which is called link. And so next also has something called link, just like they have head. We can do next/link. And then what you can do is you can change this to link. And you want to use link when you're going to pages inside your own website, and use the anchor tag or the A tag for when you want to go to a different website. So if we went to STEMpump.org from here, we'd use A. If we want to go to the about page, we'd use this. And now what I can do is I'll go in here and I'll create a div. And I can style this really quickly. I'll make it text blue 400 or 500, honestly, right there. But if you click this, see, there's no style. It doesn't look like a link yet. So what we can actually do is we can do hover, and so we'll make it text blue 700. So now when I hover over it, you can see the color now changes, but my mouse really doesn't. So we can also add cursor pointer. Now when I go over it, you can see now it looks pretty good. Let's also style that to the other page. So I can copy this, go to the about, go to the home page, and it's getting mad because I have import link once again. Oh, that's weird. Okay, and we can also just copy paste this main, I guess, right here. Make it styled. Cool. About this blog. Cool. And for our nav bar, let's just do the same thing. Let's add a link. Import link. Oh, I forgot to do this transition again. But there, section 6. Doing that. No, 7. I don't know, I got the sections messed up. It's okay, I'll fix it later with the slideshow. And it's been an hour and we've already done pretty big work. All we really have left is data now. Not too bad, only 2 more sections and we're completed. And I can just keep this the same. Link href / I just want to have a cursor pointer, and I also just want to hover and change color to 700. So now you can just do this. It's like a little title. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's things and stuff. I don't like that. I'll change it really quickly. I'll add a BR so I can force it to go to a new line. Go into things and stuff. And I want it to space out, so you can have just something called leading / tight. And this will space out the text just a little bit. Okay, cool. I guess we can remove this. Not really necessary. And now we have our post. So, okay, so here's where we're at now, right? We have a pretty good structure for our blog. And so let's kind of look at this and see how we want to style it. So we have a date, title, little description, and a date, and then maybe a read post. So let's just kind of look at this, and we can create a function, post, return. And so let's just kind of talk about how we want to do this. So we know we want a link, right? Because it's going to go to a different page. We can set this like this for now. And then we want to have a li, because it's a list item. And we want to have, I guess, 4 pieces of text. So let's first do span. Span is just a simple text. And let's write date. I'll set this to an H4. Honestly, just set it to H3. It doesn't really matter, but for accessibility, it's really important. I'll call this the post title. And this is always how I approach code, is starting with the HTML and working our way in, right? We want to create the general layers, and then we can go from there. We can add a paragraph, so summary of post. And then we'll have a div that just says read post. And we can do this really cool thing which is called rar. And that means right to arrow, and it gives us this icon without us needing to do anything. It doesn't show up, so what we'll do is we'll just type post. And you can see now, I can make as many posts as I want. So now let's style this thing. So first what we'll do is, I guess we need to space things out. So we can add a class name. Let's add padding of 4 on both top and bottom. And let's add a top border. Okay, now we have looks kind of cool. I think everything is really close together. So what I'll do is this. We'll do a div. Actually, I don't even need that. I can just put it right here, space y2, here. I want there to be a little bit more space between the date and the rest of the content. And then I'll have a space y of 1. For this class name, let's just set it something small. We can actually change the font type itself by writing font mono, and now it's a monospaced font. Or you can do font serif, and it will look like a lot more Times New Roman. But we'll just set it to mono. I want it to be uppercase, so we can write uppercase. So now the text is uppercase. It's really thin, so we can set it to bold. I don't want it to be that prevalent, so we can make it 400. I think we can get away with 500, honestly. And then it's really big, so let's make it text small. Okay. For this post title, we want it to be really big and proud, so we can set it to extra large. We can set the font to semi-bold, so it's a little bit thicker. Here we now set this to text gray of 600. I think we use 500 there, perfect. Let's make it a font medium. I think we can get away with that. It'll look nice. And then here at the bottom, since the entire thing's just a link, we can just do hover, underline, cursor pointer, text small, and then text blue 600. I can still click here and it'll bring me to a different page. We can just test that by writing about here. And yeah, so these are our posts. And let's just make this into a component while we're at it. You can go to components, create a new file, post.js. Your function, boop. And then, of course, import our link. Okay, perfect. Go back to index, save. It's going to complain, so just import post. Perfect. So some posts here. So now we're going to do a pretty big part of this. We've got our homepage done. Now let's talk about creating dynamic pages. So we have a post, and we earlier made a blog folder. And so what we want to do is we want every post to look the same with different content, and that's called dynamic routing. So I'll make a new file, and I'll put these square brackets and call it id.js. Okay, so now if I can go here and I write export default blog post, return layout, function. Let's just set the title to blog post. Okay. And this is a blog post inside here. We can go here to post and just change this to blog / that, whatever you want. And you now hit this, and it works. You can go to any, because how dynamic routing works is it doesn't matter what this page is named, because it will use whatever this ID value to find our post. So we can just go here and let's create what our post should look like. Okay, so here's what we'll do. So we can just delete this. So let's create a main. We'll set the class name. We'll add some CSS, space y4. You can just close that out. Div class name space y4 for this top, and we want to show off the date once again. We want to show off the title as well. We'll make this an h1 because now it is the leading of it, and we also want to show off maybe the summary. And this time I'll actually make it an h2 because we're going to have some other things going on. Okay, cool. And I'll also actually don't even need this. That's useless. And I'll add this new thing called HR, which is just a hairline. It's a little line. It's like a border, but it's more of an elemental thing. And then I'll add a comment that just says content goes here, exclamation mark. Okay, cool. So let's just style this out really quickly. So font bold, font mono, text gray 500, and of course uppercased. Class font bold, text 3XL leading tight. We have a title here, and we'll do a font medium, text 2, or actually text Excel, font gray 600, and I think, or text gray 600, and I'll add a spacer because I think they're too far apart. Okay, cool. We'll put our content right here. I'll just put a div for now. Content will go here. Boom. Okay, that's where we're at right now. pretty solid place. All right, so we've finished kind of everything for our basic blog for now. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we're gonna enter the next part, data fetching and Markdown. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new folder on the outside called posts and create some new files in here, which are Markdown files. And Markdown is a standard for formatted content. So you do not, like, normally you'd write in a text file, right, or a Google Doc, and they, you can bold things, italicize them, all that. And Markdown is kind of a precursor to how all that, I guess, got started and how we format content nowadays in a way that's fast, easy, all that. So inside posts, we can create something. We'll create a test post. So test post.md, and we'll also create a test post again.md. You can download these at stempump.org/live. They'll be on the right-hand side, or on your phone, you'll be able to just tap them, and you can download them before we kind of do this. So we'll first add this thing at the top called front matter, and we'll kind of explain how that works. Just checking something. Yeah, front matter. Just double checking that I named it right. And essentially, it's just a little bit of information at the top of our file, so we can give some variables. So I'll name this, this is a, or actually, let's go to this file. This is a test post. We'll give it a date of 2022-0108, and a summary of this is a test post about stuff. Okay, and then close it out. This is all our front matter. These are variables. We're using 3 variables: title, date, and summary. Title, date, and summary. You can reorder them. Actually, let's reorder them. That'd be pretty helpful to understand it. Right there. And now we can start writing all of our content that will go right here below. So in Markdown, we just write normal text. So this post is about stuff. And we can continue writing normally, like it's all about stuff. We can make this text and then bold. Bold. So when we add 2 asterisks around it, text now looks bold. We can make an H1, just like we talked about earlier, right? With a hashtag and write this is a H1. You do H2, this is a H2. This is a H3, and so on till 6. We can do some other things. Like, if you can see all right here, there's so many other things. We can italicize content with underscores. So this is italicized, or 1 underscore. And this is 2. You can also do that. You can use underscore or italicized to get away with it. See, it'll change it. But yeah. We can also do code, right? So this is what code looks like. And that's just an H3, obviously. And we'll do a triple backtick. And then we can just write some of the code that we wrote today. So function hello world return each one. Okay. And we can also do lists, right? This is a list. We do a normal list or a list like this. Okay, this is kind of Markdown, So this is some example of Markdown. And I'm just going to copy paste this in for this part. But like I said, you'll be able to find this in the stempump.org/live, or if this camp's already over, you'll find it at the page. So there's my water bottle. Okay, continuing forward. So we have all this content. This is a link, this is an image, this is a quote, some other smaller code things. So we have all this content. So how do we get this to show here? And we'll do that right now. But first, let's install a few things. So what we're going to do is we're going to first install gray matter, which will allow us to understand this. So you know, npm I gray matter, and this is something to install. Okay, we'll also be installing something called, and we can also chain things. So we can write remark, and then we can also write remark HTML. These are two things that will allow us to parse this content. And so that's going to install. So gray matter will help us understand this, and remark HTML will help us understand that. Cool. And so when you're done with that, you just go back to, and then we'll actually also, while we're at it, download one more thing, which is called Tailwind typography. And this is honestly one of the coolest things ever. So you're going to search typography, and it will style all of our Markdown content for us. So you can do this. You just copy paste this, searching it, and also it looks like right there. Cool. And you'll copy this line. We'll go to Tailwind config and just paste it inside plugins and npm run dev. So we can go back to this page. Perfect. We can go to read post. And now what we'll do is let's go to our pages, our blog, go to ID, and now let's actually just style this part. So how that looks is like this. So we'll write article. Article is another tag. You can also use div, but article is better for accessibility. Class name, prose large, and prose gray. Prose is what we literally just installed with the typography stuff. So you can actually, it will actually, if we try to put some HTML in here, it will form out really nice. So format hello, or an H3. Or a list. It styles very nicely, very clean, very nice. It just works. Okay, we'll remove that, and we'll actually just leave it like that for now, and I'll show what we'll do next. Okay, so now the question is, how do we get our data from posts from here into here? And so what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a new folder. We'll call it data, and we'll make a new file instead of it called posts.js. Okay, and this is what will really allow us to get our content there and also make a list of our content. And so let's focus on this part. Let's get a list of it first. So we'll import fs from fs. We'll import path from path, and these are all going to help us to go around. And we'll also import matter from gray matter. And while we're at it, we're also going to import HTML from remark HTML, and then import remark from remark. Okay, so for this one, we're just fs is fs, import path from path, matter from gray matter. You can actually just rename what you want this variable to mean. H, same thing here. And then here we're going to pull a singular package from this group of remark. First, we're going to find out where our posts are. So we're going to make it a constant called post directory. And we're going to equal to path.join. And this will join two things. Process.cwd, comma, posts. So what does this do? I want to comment. So what this does is it finds the current directory and adds the post folder to it. So this is our current directory. So assume it's like the base right here. this box that kind of eliminates. This folder itself is post.cwd, and it gets posts. So we're inside now, okay? Now what we'll do is we'll create an export function. This means we'll be able to use the function in other places. It's not an export default because we have several functions we will be using. And we'll write get, that's a lot of code, a lot of what we're doing already technically. And we'll just write get posts. Okay, we'll call it get posts. We'll open it up. So it's a new constant file names equals fs dot read directory sync post directory. And this gets us a list of all the file names. And these will, in the post directory, this is our ID field. So remember we talked about ID earlier? ID? This is ID. So our IDs are test post again and test post. Then we'll do is we'll create another one called full path. Go path.join. Actually, sorry, now I messed it up. Oof. Yeah, and we'll get all the data from these files. So all posts data equals the file names. And then what we'll do is we'll first get the ID. So the ID is now equal to file name, right? The file name, this. And we'll replace, let's do this, right? Okay, we'll do that for now. That's being weird. That's okay though. Okay, there we go. So this is our ID. So essentially what we did is we did a map, and a map is a loop. So we're gonna loop through all of our posts. We have 2 posts, 1, 2. We're gonna get the ID, and the ID is equal to this without .md. So this removes the ending. So it essentially turns, test post.md into test post. That's what we're getting here. Then what we'll do is we'll get all the content from here. So what we'll do is we'll create the path equals path dot, no, sorry, not path, but it's the full path equals path dot join, and then we'll use this to get the file name. File name is here. So essentially what we did is we created a list. Created a list of items. So we have, test post. And what it's doing is it's just looping through. So these are this is our list essentially of items. So it'll convert that. This is what when we're finished, we have these 2. Okay, and we'll take this, now we have this, and we get the full path. So essentially what we have is, post/test post.md right here. And we can get the content of the file, so file content equals fs.read file. So we already read the directory, now we're reading the file. And we're going to use full path. So we're going to get the path of the file and just understand it in UTF-8, which is a standard for file parsing. Don't really need to know anything about that. Okay. And so for this first page, we don't really need any of our markdown. All we really need is this top content. So let's use gray matter to do that. So we'll use constant matter result equals matter file content. And what we'll do is we'll return some items. So we'll return the ID and then matter result.data. And just like that, we have our data, all of our post data. And so if we just did this, let's just return all post data. Okay. Now we can actually go back to index right here and comment that out, and I'll import all posts data from data.posts. Let me check. or sorry, get sorted, not all post data, right? It's the file. Get posts. Get posts. That's weird. Let me do that. I can't find it. Marked. That should not be happening. See, it only took a little while until things kind of broke. Oh yeah, 4:30. We'll definitely finish this by the end. Let me figure this out. Ooh. Let me try something really quickly just so I can fix this. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is weird. Didn't happen yesterday. Let me try. Just paste. But comment that out. It works fine. Try changing this from my sample code. Why is this not working? This should not be happening. Okay, so rule of thumb, if nothing seems to be working, okay, here's what I will do. I'm going to re-download a lot of things. So you can just delete that, or I'll do this. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, this is the worst part about streaming, is because it's like, what's the term? have to wait everything out because what's the term? Oh yeah, because things don't work when you want them to. That's what it was. Oh my god. Let's see. Import trace for requested module. Let me see for why this is not working. Let me copy and paste my code from yesterday. Maybe that will give some help. Come on. Okay, so now that that isn't working, let me do some other thing. Oh, that's why. Okay. It's all about adapting when things don't go your way. There we go. Ooh, okay. So this code looks a little bit different because this is what I did yesterday, but same deal. Okay, cool. Phew. Okay, cool. So, like I said, we have our post directory, we have our file names, all that junk. I'm just gonna remove that. I don't really know if it's necessary. Okay, yeah. So if we just return all the posts, it'll take whatever one's at top. Like if I rename this one to we go to the top, and this one will too. So that one's just based on that. But yeah. But what I was gonna do was we were gonna sort them by their date that we gave, and so yeah, I commented it out. But essentially, with this code, you'll be able to sort them by comparing the dates, because what we've done is we have this matter result.data, and so you're essentially sorting them by their date, which is in this data. This dot essentially just adds on to the rest of the list, as you can see right here. So ID, title, date, summary, and so that happens. When you go back to index, what we're going to do is we're going to just import get sorted posts data. Then what we're going to do is, actually wait, let me do something really quickly. There we go. Then we with this. Let me do a few different things just so we can get back on the same page. There we go. Okay. So, okay. So we imported our get sorted posts from here, and then we're going to do something that's called get static props. And so when we want to pull data, there's a few ways to go about it with Next.js. There's three main ways: server side, static, and incremental static. Server side and incremental static we're not going to cover because they're a little bit more complex and have more to do when you pull data from an internet server or another server. But since we're only working with Markdown files that are already on our website, we don't have to worry about that. So we write export async function get static props. We set a variable to equal to this function that we wrote here, get sorted posts, and it pulls the data. Right here, we hit return props all posts data. And essentially what we originally had is this, so you can write all posts data, and then we have this. So then what we can do is with this we can do another, we can do all posts data.map post here, and then post. And you have this, and right, so we have 2 files and 2 posts, but we want the data to go through. So we'll say post, and now you do post. And so this post will go into here. It'll get angry if I don't do this. So you can add index and key. Just know that what it does is it gets the index. So for the first file, 0, 1, and that way it just knows what order it's within. So we're not getting anything through though, nothing's showing. So we're going to use a post, and we'll create that variable as well. So now that we're getting the data, what we'll also do is this, we'll change that to a backtick like this, and we'll replace this random gibberish with post.id. And so now if I go to read post, you'll see that the post is this. It's going to crash, obviously. For now, we'll also add the post title, and you can just do that with curly braces, so post.title. And we'll also add a post.summary and post.date. Now we have a list of our posts. Pretty cool, and it's the newest one comes first, older one comes last. And I didn't reiterate that already. You basically take A and B. If A is less than B, we return 1, return -1, or return 0. And that's how it's sorted, essentially, with that. But just do this. It can definitely be simplified, but for now, you can just write that. And like I said, all this code will be available afterwards when I figure out how to put it up there. Okay, cool. So now let's talk about how do we get all of our content through. I'm just trying to grab all the old files right now because it broke. Cool, okay, so back a little bit more, which is good. Good things. Copy that. Here's my notes. Because I have to use my teaching stuff now. There we go. Okay. Nice. Perfect. Okay. Yes. Now if I go through here, everything kind of matches up. So now, question is, we have our ID passing through. We have all this data showing up. So how do we get the content? So what we'll do is this. We'll continue adding to this posts thing that we have. It's in lib now, but okay. So we have, and it kind of works the same way. But what we need to do is for this page, now that we're using dynamic, it needs to know that all the different possibilities. And so we'll create 2 functions. Here, we'll talk about async function get static paths. And we'll also write export async function get static props. Okay, and in here we'll write params, so parameters, params, and we'll set constant ID is equal to params.id. And so this variable of ID is equal to this one. So on this page, ID is equal to test post again. We'll also add a return props here. And we'll also add a return paths with a fallback of false. Just have those right there for now. This one come right there. And then right here, we can also write so post. Okay, right there for the little crash. Perfect. What I expected to happen. Okay. So here in post.js, we can write a function to get all of our IDs. And we technically already, remember, we already did this. Remember, we did this right here to get file names. You have all the IDs. So it's literally just that, and like I said, yeah, you'll get an array that looks like this, and then that. Get all post IDs. So we'll import that. Get all post IDs, and we can write const paths equals get all post IDs. Okay, now it's not crashing anymore. But now, if it's not if it's not an ID from this list, it'll get angry. It's pretty simple. All right, we map the file name, we replace the MD. Got it? Cool. So now we're going to be getting the content for the post. We have the ID, so now we're going to feed this ID. So we'll create a function, async function called getPostID. Once again, we'll get the directory of the file. We'll get the content. We'll use gray matter. Pretty easy. But now we're going to be using remark. Let me just. Yeah, now we'll be using remark to parse the bottom content, all this stuff right here. Okay, so we'll take our processed content, set it equal to await remark. We'll use HTML, and we'll take our content from matter. Matter will also have content right here. It'll take the content from matter is essentially this chunk, and then this is the other matter stuff. And so then we'll do is we'll set it equal to, this will convert the markdown to HTML. Use HTML to convert the markdown. And then we'll finally end it out by returning the ID, our content, and matter result.data. So now we're on this page. What we can do here is we can say constant post is equal to await get post data ID, and we'll now return post. Okay, so we have post up here, and we can do the same thing that we did before. Post.date, post.title. What was it complaining about? Okay, let me see this really quickly. I feel like if I changed too much. There we go. Okay. I don't know what changed. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, we had our post.date, post.title, post.summary, right? And so we can go back. We can go see. Oh yeah, it's working. It's working out perfectly. But we still need our content. And this is what we'll be doing. We'll be doing something called dangerously set inner. So we'll say dangerously set inner HTML. It says, and then what we'll do is we'll do underscore HTML post data dot content HTML. Read post. It's gonna post, not post data. There we go. And now you can see it's styling all of our code, all of our Markdown content. See? This post is about stuff, and that's what it looks like. Go back. Look at this. It's all good. And we can have our links, they're all styled. We have an image of our cat. And yeah, and so that's it. And now we're ready for the final step, which is finishing our blog by committing it. So what you're gonna do is you are going to, let me fix something really quickly. Then I will do this. Documents. Let me find where this folder is. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm just fixing all the code so it moves over properly. And now we're ready to upload it to Vercel. Because remember, our web page still looks like this. And we want to make it look different. And it's almost done because I'm fixing it because that was a weird bug we had. If you have that bug, feel free to reach out to us and I'll definitely have a fix for you. I have no clue what it was though. I was just getting annoyed for some reason. Perfect. So we have this, we have all these files, and on this right, go. Right, and then we'll write our new commit. And we will push. That should work. That shouldn't, I'm not expecting any complaints here. You can see that we have a new commit after making it. It shouldn't crash. I'm hoping it won't at least. Yeah, cool. It's not complaining. But you can see here, it already knows what posts we want. So every time you need to make a new post, you can just go into your files, make a new Markdown file with your font matter and all that, commit it, and you're good to go. So it shouldn't take too long. Building it. We just built it. It worked. Yeah, see, same errors. I usually run npm run build before doing these things, before uploading it back in, just so I can. There it is. Just so I can make sure that on my computer I'm good before I upload it to the web, and it'll figure it out on its own. Okay, and I think we're good. Yes, visit. Perfect. Perfecto. About page works. Got all our content. And yeah. And so yeah, that's it. We did it within 2 hours. Few technical difficulties here and there, but we got our blog built. And that's kind of your first introduction, I guess, into React and Next.js and Tailwind and so many different ideas and concepts and topics. That's very confusing. If we kind of rush through it. But yeah, so if you missed something, all content will be available following this camp at STEMpump.org. We'll be adding sections and all that. I'll be fixing a lot of the bugs in the video and the stream. But yeah, if you missed something, that'll be available. And yeah, camp's over. Yay! Thank you everyone for joining us today. We got 2 more camps this month. We got a Figma camp, I think next week, and then we have an AI camp 2 weeks from now. And so those are both really cool, and then we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, let us know how we did at stempump.org/r/CFB. You'll be able to submit some feedback to us. That's really helpful. And yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.